Hi everyone, it's Dave. Welcome back to another video. Hope you're all feeling okay in this heat. It's been incredibly hot here in England. Well, it's hot for English standards. So it's been about 28, between 28 and 30 here. And the thing about English heat is it's a very uncomfortable heat. It's a very sticky, it's not a nice heat at all. But I'm not complaining. We spend enough of our time complaining about the weather, us Brits. So I'm not complaining at all. Well, I am a bit. Anyway, we're here to do a wrap up. We're here to do the wrap up for the month of June. It's been a really good reading month this month, and I can hardly see out of these glasses. Let me just give these a wipe. It's been a really good reading month. Probably, in fact, it is the best reading month since I've been on BookTube. So in nearly a year, this is the best reading month. Is that any better? Yes, it is. What am I putting that down to? A, yes, I've been prioritising reading, and B, I think it's because I'm TBRing my reading now, which I haven't done. I've only been doing it the last couple of months. So that's what I'm putting it down to, really. But for next month, what I'm going to do, I'm going to try something different for wrap-ups next month. I'm going to try, and I've sort of nicked this idea of Lindsay at Wandering Reader. I shall link her channel down below. I'm going to try or trial vlog style wrap-ups just for 1 month. If no one likes it, then I'll stop it and I'll carry on doing them the way I've been doing them. But I'm going to try vlog style wrap-ups, which means that as I finish each book, I shall record my thoughts immediately, so that, because the trouble that I find is that I have trouble telling you about a book that I've read a month ago with the same enthusiasm or the same feelings about it that I had when I immediately finished it. So that's what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and do that for everything that I finish in the next month. I'm recording this video a little bit in advance because by the time this video comes out, myself and Vicky will be in Wales in one of the 37 bookshops that we're going to visit in the town of Hay-on-Wye. That's too much waffling. Let's crack on with the books that I read last month, because it was, as I said, it was a really good month. And the first one I read last month was Everything is Lies by Helen Callaghan. This is Helen Callaghan's second book. The first one was called Dear Amy, which I've also read, that was very good. This one, indeed, very good. This concerns a girl called Sophia. Sophia's life is, how can we put this tactfully, a bit of a mess. And she receives a phone call one night from her mother, and she thinks the phone call's a bit odd. So when she goes home, she finds her mother hanging from a tree and her father very nearby in a pool of blood with a horrific knife wound. The police are putting this down to murder-suicide. Sophia isn't so sure, and so as the book develops, it turns out everything that this girl has ever known has been a lie. Absolutely everything. And it's twisty, it's turny, it's pacey, the characters are great, the pace of the book is great, the writing's great. Helen Callaghan is great. She is a great thriller writer. Cannot wait to see what she does next. I'll be reading everything she writes in the future. Brilliant book. Highly recommended. The second book I read was a proof copy kindly sent to me from Canongate. This is He Is Mine and I Have No Other, written by Rebecca Connor. So this is set in 1990, small town Ireland, concerns a girl called Lani Devine, and she falls in love with someone at school, and it's a little bit whimsical in part. It's beautifully written. It's very lyrical. It's a really good read. It's not very thick. It's only about 230 pages it comes in at. It's very good. This is out to buy now in hardback. It was published a few weeks ago. There's some beautiful writing in parts, because the small town where Lani grows up, or Lainey grows up, there was an orphanage that had this big fire, and you hear stories from some of the orphan kids as well from the 1930s. So it's got one of those dual timeline things going on. But it's a really good book. It's really good little read. So that's He Is Mine and I Have No Other by Rebecca O'Connor, published by Canongate. The third book I read in the month was my classic pick for the month. As you know from my TBRs, I'm picking a thriller, a classic, something else from my TBR shelves, and a few new releases as well. This was my classic pick. This was The Walden by Anthony Trollope. This was my dollop of Trollope for the month of June. Really enjoyed it. Took me a little while to tune in to the language. I'm having not read Victorian literature for some years now. It does take you a little bit of time just to tune the old signals into the Victorian language used in this book, but it's really good. Really enjoyed it. Trollope is very readable. I found it very accessible. It wasn't daunting at all. It wasn't too heavy. It wasn't too dry. In fact, it was quite witty. This concerns a man called Septimus Harding, who is the he holds a position in an almshouse, and also in this book, some of the phrases used as I was reading, I was having to look them up as well. So he holds a position called a precentor, which not a placenta, a precentor, and it means through this other man's will that he is entitled to this money that comes in. But what this book highlights is the value of morals in Victorian society and the values of one's standing within society, and that was everything to these people. And if someone muddied your name, as happens in this book, it can be quite devastating. I mean, you know, if someone calls us out nowadays on social media, we tend not to, those with a slightly thicker skin, we tend not to think too much of it. If it happened in Victorian times, obviously not on social media, but in the press or just through word of mouth, it was a really big deal. So I really enjoyed that. That's The Walden from Anthony Trollope, which is the first in the Chronicles of Barsetshire, and I shall be reading the others in chronological order throughout the year. The next one I read after that was my non-fiction pick for the month. This was Educated by Tara Westover, that is published by, I don't recognise the logo, it's published by Hutchinson. Wow, fantastic book. Everything you've heard about this book is true, if you've heard the good things. I haven't heard any negative comments about this book, and I did quite a bit of research before, but it was recommended to me by lots and lots of people. It's fantastic. This is a remarkable, an absolutely remarkable story of Tara Westover. Tara Westover grew up in what can only be described as she had an exceptional childhood, an exceptionally tough childhood. In many ways, it reminded me of Turtle, the character in Gabrielle Tallant's My Absolute Darling. It reminded me a lot of that. Tara Westover she had a horrible childhood. Education was cut off from her. Her family were ultra religious, and they are essentially a group of survivalists, and her father was constantly preparing for the end of days. She had a physically tough childhood and an emotionally tough childhood, and what Tara Westover has gone on to achieve is nothing short of absolutely remarkable. She ended up at Cambridge, she ended up at Harvard. She's got so many letters after her name there. She's done a doctorate, a PhD, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's an absolutely brilliant story, and an inspiration to anyone who's had education denied to them. We take it for granted, don't we, that education is just, it's there automatically for us if we choose, and the end of school doesn't have to be the end of education. But remarkable story. Cannot recommend it highly enough. One of my books of the year for sure. The next one I read after that was a buddy read with Brian from Brian's Bookshelves. I shall link Brian's channel down below. And this was The Knot by Mark Watson. Now, I picked this up in a charity shop. Brian picked this up in a charity shop round about the same sort of time. So we thought, hey, we were thinking of doing a buddy read anyway. So we thought, why not do this? Well, it was Brian's idea. I'm sorry, Brian, I'm not claiming the credit. So it's Brian's idea to buddy read this, because I said to him, look, I don't mind what we read. Let's just buddy read something. So we decided on this. Fantastic, absolutely brilliant book. Mark Watson is a comedian who looks like this. I'll put a picture of Mark Watson up here. I wasn't entirely familiar with his TV work, and I didn't know. I thought this was a one-off, but he's written quite a lot. He's written several before this and then several after this. This came out in 2012, published by Simon and Schuster. It's funny, it's very readable, it's a very simple read. I've said before that I don't mind reading something that isn't overly literary, as long as it's readable and as long as it's written well. And I get that feeling sometimes where, well, all the time really, where you just want someone to tell you a good story, and this is what Mark Watson does in a superb way. It's an uncomplicated read. You don't have to plough your way through it with gritted teeth, as I have another book this month. It's a really quick read as well. You find yourself racing through the pages. This is about a wedding photographer called Dominic Kitchen, and it traces his life as a wedding photographer and all these things that happen to him, these great family dramas that he has, and his relationship with his sister, which I won't go into too much detail about, but it's a very interesting relationship that Dominic has with his sister. It's just a really good readable story. I wouldn't necessarily describe it as uplit. It's definitely commercial fiction, definitely, but it's damn good, and I will be reading more from Mark Watson definitely this year. He's a new favourite author, and it's lovely to find a backlist. Great to find a new author that you really connect with, and also to find out that they've got a backlist that you can delve into as well. What I read after The Knot was another buddy read, so straight from the Brian buddy read straight into the buddy reading team that is myself, Kerry Ann from Women vs Books, and Emma from Emma's Bookish Lifestyle. I shall link both of their channels down below. We read An Ocean of Minutes. This is a debut novel published by Thea Lim, published by Quercus, and is out. By the time this video goes out, it will be out already. I was really looking forward to this. I highlighted it in one of my 6 books to look out for in June last month, and the premise is fantastic. There's this couple. This is about a couple called Polly and Frank. It's set in the late 70s, early 80s. A virus has broken out, a very infectious virus, and it turns out to wipe out most of the population of America. Frank contracts this virus, and as a sort of deal, Polly is offered a chance to time travel to the future to help rebuild America, and in turn Frank will receive treatment for his for this virus that he's got, this terrible infection. But what happens is, by mistake, instead of going 12 years, she is transported, I think 15 or 17 years in. So instead of hitting 93, Polly ends up in 98, and they've agreed to meet at a certain place at a certain time. So once I'd got, and I loved this premise, I think that would make a brilliant idea for a book. Once I'd gotten my head around the whole time travelling thing, and we had major discussions about this, us three, about how time travel and how you could actually meet at the same place when only one of you is time travelling, but obviously the other one's got to wait anyway. That's a discussion for another time. Not got really too much to say about this book, other than I'm hugely disappointed in it. I thought it was written in a very dry manner. I wasn't overly connected to the characters. I didn't dislike them, I didn't like them. I just felt absolutely nothing for the characters in this book, and I was hoping to find this brilliant love story that took place through time, and got nothing. I got absolutely nothing from this book at all, apart from disappointment really, and I had such high hopes for this. You know, I'm not saying that everyone's going to find this bad. I'm sure it's going to get really good reviews as well. It just wasn't for me. It just didn't wow me. I was expecting this book to wow me, and I was expecting this book to be a 5-star. In the end, I think it scraped a 3. So it's good. I just can't get over that initial disappointment. The next book I read was much better, although slight niggle as well. So this one was Falling Short by Lex Colton. This is published by John Murray. It's 2 stories really, so it's set in the present day, and it's about a female teacher, a woman teacher called Frances Pilgrim, and her friend Jackson, who's a teacher teaching in the UK from South Africa. I didn't enjoy so it's basically 2 stories really. So Frances is, her world's falling apart as well. Her mother's got Alzheimer's. She doesn't really enjoy her job, even though she's quite good at it. She's had a one-night stand in the past with Jackson. Jackson really hates his job and he's just counting down to retirement. So the two stories are connected. I enjoyed Frances's story far more than Jackson's. So it's really, to use a World Cup analogy, as the World Cup is on at the moment, it's a game of two halves, this one. And the last book that I read in the month of June was Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops from the brilliant Jen Campbell. Jen Campbell is, as you will know, a fabulous booktuber as well as a brilliant writer. I came across this book in Yorkshire and I didn't have it, so I bought it second hand, and it's full of funny witticisms really. Jen used to be a bookseller and worked in I think an antiquarian bookshop in London, and this is, as the title suggests, Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops, and there are some absolute gems in here. I'm sure many of you have read this. And I think Jen's written a follow-up as well, more weird things customers say in bookshops. But she wrote this some years ago. I think this was Jen's debut book. I'm not really sure. 2012 this came out, so it's been out a while now. But really enjoyed it. Very, very good. And a book that you can sort of reread over and over again, really. So yeah, Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops from Jen Campbell. That was it. That was the end of my reading for the month of June. I hope you enjoyed those books. As I said, next month I'm going to trial a vlog style wrap up so that I capture that initial emotion after, good or bad, after finishing. So it's going to have a slightly different format next month. I'll probably come in at the top of the video and just introduce what the books are, and then we'll just cut to some spliced up vlog footage throughout the month as and when I finish the books. Oh, that's enough waffling for me. Hope you enjoyed that. Whatever you're doing this week, enjoy your books, and I'll see you next time for another booktube video. Until then, take care. Bye bye.